Hey guys, Dr. Kurt, and I want to save you some time. I do discovery calls quite a bit, and these are just free 15-minute phone calls with prospective clients with, are we a good fit together? What do we kind of do? And I would say the majority of the time, whether they're talking to me or my assistant, is trying to explain the difference between what we do and what you're used to in the traditional model. Now, traditional healthcare, so yeah, just what you know is traditional healthcare, um, is they're the king of acute and emergency care. Now, the problem is they've kind of gotten cocky with that. Hey, we've been so successful with acute care that we're going to apply those same interventions to chronic care. And that's just foolish in nature, because where acute care is event-based and trauma-based, chronic illness is going to be accumulative, it's going to be compounding, and there's not usually a one thing that starts or creates the issue. It's been a bunch of little things that finally accumulate over time until the body's like, I've had enough. I'm shutting you down. I'm getting your attention. And so we need to do something differently. Now, the first fundamental difference between functional care, which I do, and traditional care, which is the majority of what you're kind of seeing in the media, is that we look at symptoms very differently. In my model, symptoms are intelligent. Your body is acting up for a reason. Your blood pressure is going up for a reason. This blood pressure is going up for a reason. Blood sugars, fatigue, you name it. Whatever the symptom is, there's got to be some intelligent reason for it happening. In the traditional model, they look at the symptom as something stupid, and if they can suppress it, then therefore they are successful, and you are therefore going to be healthy. The problem with that, and virtually every illness, chronic illness treated with medicine, is that as they treat the symptom of the chronic illness on lab, on paper, you may look better, but you end up getting sicker. Like as we've put more people on antidepressants, there's more people on disability due to antidepressant or due to depression. There's more people that have a balanced TSH on medication, but what doctors should be telling their patients is, hey, your cholesterol is going to go up, your weight's going to go up, fatigue's going to go up, depression's going to go up. So the symptom isn't something just to cover up like on your dashboard. It's something to investigate and look at why, what intelligent reason is this happening for. Now, the next major difference is going to be the mode of treatment. In my world, again, we're looking at interventions that are going to be genetically compatible with your DNA and cells. So our cells require two things. They require purity and they require sufficiency. So with that said, the only viable solution to provide purity and provide sufficiency is by how you eat, move, think, relationships, you name it. In traditional healthcare, they have tools of drugs and surgery. And again, these are phenomenal in emergency situations. If I get blasted by a T-bone accident and I'm unconscious and I have broken ribs and a hip and you name it, knock me out. Like, I don't care what you give me. I don't want to feel anything. The problem though, is that when you apply that emergency-based illness to chronic-based, it creates a persistent pattern of perpetual dysfunction, because the nature of drugs and surgery are to block purity, are to block sufficiency. Like most drugs have a mechanism of blocking nutrition in the body. Most surgeries are removing too many body parts. And so again, there may be a need for that, but the reality is that our healthcare system is the third leading cause of death in our nation. So the more we can keep you out of that, especially when we're talking about chronic illness, now you're going to need it in acute illness or acute injury, infection, trauma, those types of things. That's the place to go. But when it's a chronic issue, we have to look at, what are you deficient in? What are you toxic in? And then how do we replenish those? Now, difference number 3 is going to be a roadmap of treatment. In my world, what you've experienced, what you've been exposed to, and the choices you made will have a massive influence on the areas that you need support first. So I could line up 10 people with a hypothyroid condition and all 10 got there a different way. And so instead of just treating the faulty TSH with drugs and surgery, we're looking at what are the influences that created deficiency toxicity? Let's address those to now give the body the chance to heal. Now, in traditional healthcare, as much as they want to make a diagnosis, it doesn't really matter. Now, because like it's kind of a one size fits all. If you have an autoimmune, regardless of what autoimmune, you have options of steroids, immunologicals, anti-inflammatories. If you're diagnosed with heart disease, you have the standard 3, cholesterol meds, blood thinners, blood pressure meds. Doesn't matter if you have 1 artery blocked, 10 artery blocked, like they're really good at making a diagnosis, but in the reality of it, it doesn't matter because you're just getting the same thing. You have reflux, great. We can knock that out. We're not looking at why do you have reflux? Could it be H. pylori? Could it be food sensitivity? Could it be like, and go upon those types of things. So again, traditional looks at success if there's less symptoms. Less symptoms does not mean more health. It just means you're not feeling what's potentially going on inside you. Because remember, symptoms are intelligent. They're not stupid. Now, probably the most fundamental difference is the leading question between the functional model and traditional model. And so in my model, we're the profession of why. Like, why do you have this? Why is this developing? Why is this occurring? Versus in traditional model, they are all about what. What do you have? Because when we label what you can have, we can knock it out. We can suppress it. Great. You have high cholesterol. We have this medication to suppress high cholesterol, and therefore you must be good. The problem with that is, again, another question is, does this lead to better health outcomes? And no, it just means more people are dying with lower cholesterol. The 1 million people that will die virtually every year of heart disease aren't the ones that just forgot their cholesterol meds or just forgot their blood pressure meds or just forgot their aspirin every day. And so figuring out the what without the why behind it is a huge disservice. And again, in traditional model where they're great at emergency type stuff, the what is vital. It's important because usually time is not a commodity to mess with. Where in the chronic illness, we have time to kind of figure things out. So we have to ask different set of questions. Now, what is this? The fifth kind of fundamental difference is the root cause of what our illness is. Now, in my world, I've already alluded to it. It's your experiences, it's your exposures, it's your choices. And why these matters, because this is what we call epigenetics. So we all have the DNA code, and that DNA code is going to be constant in every aspect of life. Like, it's a blueprint. It just depends, what building materials are you building that blueprint out of? And so it's never really the DNA's fault, maybe 2%, but 98% of it is what your outside world is telling your DNA to do. So again, if you're running from a bear, danger, 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 that experience, those exposures are going to tell your DNA, hey, I need you to code for the genes to open up the communication to high blood pressure, high blood sugar, you name it. So when we're looking at why did a problem create, and it's been years and years and years, in the traditional model, they're like, oh, it must be just bad luck or bad genes or even bad bugs. So there's going to be a big difference between what we're looking at in solutions versus what traditional is going to look at and go from there. Again, it just goes back to the blueprint. Your DNA is the blueprint, but it's dependent on what you are choosing to build that blueprint into. You could use popsicle sticks, you could use concrete. You're going to have two totally different outcomes, but the blueprint is exactly the same. And I think ultimately the final one is, think of it this way, if DNA is the recipe for success, then my ultimate goal is to empower you with tools, tactics, and knowledge so you can live in a congruent manner. And so our outcome, our main objective outcome is to empower you. Like I tell this to my clients, I want you to be able to fire me. Once we're done figuring out the problem, coaching you through some time frame, typically 6 months, at the end of that 6 months, you may not be 100% better, but you should be able to have all the tools, tactics, resources, and wisdom to continue this journey without me. Now, I'm here as a resource, but you shouldn't have to rely on me. Whereas in traditional model, their main outcome is going to be manage you. They want to manage symptoms, because if it's bad bugs, bad genes, bad luck, then you're only a victim to whatever that is. And if you are a victim, if they can get you to believe you're a victim, then the only solution is what they provide, which is drugs and surgery. And so it just cycles back to, oh, symptom is stupid because of bad bugs, bad genes, bad luck. You have this, we're going to manage it with drugs and surgery until you die early. And it's not like the people, again, the people that are managing it aren't living longer. They're actually living shorter, because healthcare, traditional healthcare, and chronic illness is our third leading cause of death in our country. So hopefully this clears up some confusion. I know there's going to be more questions, especially like cost and all that type of stuff, but hopefully this gets you started. So when we have a discovery call, if we have a discovery call, you can get more into the nitty gritty of like, okay, what's going on with you? Tell me about your intelligent symptoms. And then how do we approach that from a systems and sequence manner, opposed to just a symptom suppression manner? So I hope to talk to you soon, and hopefully this clears up some confusion.